Welcome back to the Coconut Tree Podcast with your hosts, Thomas and Anthony.
You can call me
How y'all doing today?
Antoninus.
What'd you say?
I said you can call me Antoninus.
What'd you say? Aunt Jemimus?
Antoninus.
Oh, I was about to say, I don't know if people are okay with that anymore. So I wanted to start this episode off by going out on a limb here and doing a fact check on our last episode really quick. In our last episode, we talked a little bit about the debate, and more specifically, I want to highlight our conversation about the $35 insulin cap. So, a couple of things here. So, Mr. Trumpy, he did, in fact, sign a $35 cap legislation into law. It is true, he did do that. However, his was extremely limited. I don't have exact numbers. I couldn't find them of how many people were able to take part in this plan. But what Donald Trump's plan, it only applied to an extremely small voluntary subset of Part D plans. It only applied to a very specific type of plan-covered insulins, and it was only Part D Medicare that was covered for the $35 insulin cap. However, Biden, he really expanded it to all Medicare Part D plans. He made it all insulins covered by a Part D plan, and he had it under Part D and Part B of Medicare. I'm not going to sit here and explain all of the differences in the different Medicare parts for you guys. If you want to do that, you can go and look it up on a side thing. I mean, maybe at some point, because honestly, this brings up a good idea. And I don't know how you feel about this, Anthony, but I have quite literally licensed to talk about health and life insurance in 3 states. So at some point, maybe we do an episode where I educate people on how health insurance actually works.
Yeah,
I think that might be
that could
fun.
be a good episode because I feel like a lot of people really don't understand health insurance. I mean, it is a little bit complicated, but you know, I think a lot of people are lacking that. I just wanted to ask you a question about your earlier stats about the Biden's expansion of the $35 insulin.
I don't know how many people.
Yeah, so that would be my one question. Like, how many more people can have that now than under Trump's plan?
Ton. No. See, you're not understanding. Part D, which is what Trump had a voluntary subset of Part D plans, that's voluntary. You don't have to enroll in Part D. That's like supplemental insurance.
I see.
But and I might be misremembering off the top of my head here, I'm pretty sure Part B is required in order to qualify for Medicare.
Got it.
Let me just double check that really quick.
The magic of
No,
the
Part
internet.
B is also optional.
Okay, well, there we go.
Part A is the one that's not optional. And hold on, let me just... No, if you qualify for Medicare, you are in Part A and Part B.
Got it.
So, yeah, I was right the first time. I knew I was right. I don't know why I doubted myself so much. But everything else is like extra coverage that you can pay for if you want.
Sure. So,
Or you can qualify through some special, very limited government programs.
So the bottom line is that potentially many more people have access to the $35 insulin.
This means that
under
every
Biden.
single person who's on Medicare now has a $35 pay cap versus Donald Trump's extremely limited circumstances.
Got it. So I guess it is fair to say
He just
that-
expanded it. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a fact that he didn't have zero pay cap.
Sure.
So, and I mean, that is a big deal. Like, he got the ball rolling on it.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
And that is important. I mean, so I want to just take a second to fact check us here. Something that you're going to see from us anytime we find out that we are just factually incorrect. We will fact check ourselves in the next episode. I'm not afraid to admit that I was wrong about something, and saying that Trump had absolutely no influence on a $35 cap on insulin is untrue. He did have some.
Yeah,
it is true.
I want to encourage the audience that if they spot, a blatant factual error, just, comment about it and point us to a source so that we can confirm. I mean, we don't want to be wrong.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
By the way, my source, one of the sources at least that I used for correcting myself on this was kff.org. They are an independent company, like a research group. They do health policy research, they poll people in the healthcare field, and they also do news. So they're a pretty trustworthy source when it comes to health-related information.
Sounds good.
Now, to move on to the bulk of our conversation, because I'm quite angry about something. All right. I'm about to spit some fire. So today I'm going to talk about abortion. I am very pro-choice. Let me begin this conversation by saying I'm pro-choice. You're going to hear me say it multiple times just to reassure you that I am in fact pro-choice. And in some cases, I even support an abortion. But that's a different conversation from what I want to have. I want to have a conversation about abortion, and I want to have a conversation about the way that abortion gets framed in the United States. Specifically, I want to talk about how men get left out of the abortion conversation. So, I do understand why people say that it's a women's rights issue exclusively. I get it. I understand the woman carries the child for 9 months. They have the childbirth. It is a bigger deal for a woman when it comes to a pregnancy than it is for a man. However, I think that progressives especially are doing themselves an extreme disservice by not including men in the conversation. I think that making this an everyone's rights issue is just objectively a better strategy when it comes to convincing people to agree with you or vote the way that you want them to do in order to enact the policies that need to be enacted. Like, for example, there is no chance that you are convincing right-leaning moderates that Roe v. Wade should be codified into law and to vote for Democrats because of that if you only hammer away to them that it's a women's rights issue. Those people, for the most part, obviously not everybody, those people can't conceptualize that idea because it doesn't affect them. I'm sorry, but most people are selfish. Most people are self-centered. Most people only think about what's immediately in front of them. So, it's not just a women's rights issue. Something that I really want to hammer home today is some stuff about why men are important as well when it comes to the abortion discussion and when it comes to family planning in general. I think that men get the short end of the stick on this, and I think that it's based on a lot of really negative stereotypes that we have in this country about men, especially as parents. I mean, let's face it, the common media analysis and portrayal of men as fathers is terrible. You either get goofy dad who's completely clueless and mom saves the day 100% of the time, or you get deadbeat dad who never shows up and just completely abandon his children, or you get Uncle Daddy is what I've seen it called in the literature, which is where the father doesn't interact even a little bit with the child and just sends a paycheck every now and then for child support. That's what's called Uncle Daddy in the literature. And I think that those are the three major portrayals of men that you get to see as parents. Very rarely do you see the super good dad. Like, it happens. You definitely see it sometimes. Like, the perfect example I think of when I think of positive men in media is Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. That is the ultimate example of good fatherly figure. I know he wasn't his biological dad, but I think it's more about the message of what a male parental figure can be than it is about the biological dad.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
Really quickly, I just want to call out my favorite movie in the world, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Has a very,
I love that film.
Very
oh my god,
positive portrayal of fatherhood. In fact, he is the heart of that movie. Just want to put that out there.
He was phenomenal. He won an Oscar for that, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, I mean, he was the best. I loved him. That movie was so fucking good. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
But something that I wanted is because I hear in the media constantly, I hear nothing but bad dads, men suck. I just want to take a minute here to deconstruct what men's role in family is, but I do want to give you a chance first, Anthony, to respond to my comments about abortion and making it an everyone issue rather than just a women's rights issue, because it's a men's rights issue too.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I want to say completely agree that it's an everyone issue. It's a human rights issue. Men. I mean, it takes two to tango, right? You can't have a baby without a man and a woman, right? So, inherently,
supposedly,
inherently, the man is going to have some role here. It's an open question as to what the role could be, but yeah, it should be considered an everyone issue because I guarantee you, a man who doesn't want to have a child would probably want his partner to get an abortion if he's pro-choice, right? So, yeah, the other thing I want to say is on your broader point of, how we need to target it differently because people, men don't care about exclusively women's rights issues. I think that's mostly true. I think your average.
I think it goes both ways too. I think women don't really care about men's rights issues.
Yeah,
either.
sure. I think in general, people are not going to care as much about issues that don't directly or that they don't see as directly affecting them. I think that's true 100%. In general. However, I do think in an ideal state, it would be really nice if we could get people to care about other people's issues. Maybe we're not there yet. That's probably true, but
I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is just in human nature to be selfish. I think that is just a objective fact about human life.
We might have different philosophical disagreements there, but I think I do agree.
Yeah, I know. I read Schopenhauer.
I do agree with you that the current state is such that most people do not care about other people's issues. So yeah, I think we should.
At least in the United States, like my personal cultural experience tells me that.
Right. I think we should probably frame it as a human rights everyone issue. I think that makes total sense.
See, I don't even want to do that. I want to frame it in two different ways. Here's what I want to do. I want to, when we're targeting women, I want to talk about how it's such an important women's rights issue. And when we're targeting men, like have two separate campaigns here. When we're targeting men, we talk about why abortion is a men's rights issue and why it's good for men that women have that choice. Because let's be real here. The situation in the United States is actually, with Roe v. Wade, the situation in the United States in most circumstances is going to be that a man and a woman have a pregnancy scare and they make a decision to have an abortion or not. They engage in family planning. And in any healthy relationship, the opinions of both sides are going to be considered. That's why I think it's so important that men get to hear why abortion is good for them too, instead of just having the constant hammering from, honestly, let's be real, the right and the left about how it's just a women's rights issue and it's bad if you're pro-choice and all this stuff. Men are just completely inundated constantly with how awful of parents they are, with how awful of spouses and relationship partners they are, and men are just constantly told that they suck by the left. But on the right, men are, it's too much on the right in the opposite direction. Am I making sense here?
Yeah, I think you're making sense. And you know what? I like your very enlightened position of when we're talking to women, let's appeal to women. If we're talking to men, let's appeal to men.
I really wish that wasn't considered an enlightened position, because to me, this is just so fucking obvious. It's marketing 101. Know your demographic. Why do they suck? Why are they so bad at knowing their demographic? When you're talking to men, tell men what's appealing to them. When you're talking to women, tell women what's appealing to them. Why is that so hard?
It's pretty simple, yeah.
Like, it's just, the thing is, what I want to do, and I don't think you could really do legislation in a way where this would make any sense, but I think that step one, we got to recodify Roe v. Wade into law. I think that that's what I want to happen. Do you disagree with me on this?
Not at all. I totally agree. It should be codified into law, and I kind of think it should have been done a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they were waiting for, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Two, I want to see it be the case that the shift in the discussion goes, and the right, the conservatives, they have done a phenomenal job of convincing everybody that the focus, the lens of focus when it comes to abortion should be on women that they can paint as horrible sluts that are just getting abortions left, right, and center. And they also point the lens at like a single woman who just wants to, she's just flagrant with her body and wants to have sex with everything that moves and just get 50 abortions. But let's be real, guys. In 95% of cases that a woman gets an abortion, it's her only abortion and she's not going to get another one. Most women don't get more than one abortion.
Yeah, and I don't think there are many, if at all, I don't think there are many women who are, there might be a woman who's relieved that she got an abortion because now she doesn't have a kid. But there's no woman who's looking forward to getting an abortion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the psychological impact of it is just so insane.
Yeah.
Insane. Just give me 1 second. I'm trying to look up and see if there's actual stats on how many women do repeat abortions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that for women who get an abortion, it's more an attitude of, man, I really fucked up and made a mistake. Let me try to prevent this from happening again, Typically, she might be relieved that she had it, and she might be grateful that she had the opportunity to have the abortion, but it's not going to be, a highlight of her life.
All right, I got the numbers. So according to Pew Research, pretty reliable information source, I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah.
According to Pew Research, 57% of abortions were the first time that a woman has ever had one. And
lower than I expected.
An additional 24% have only had one.
Interesting. Okay, that's lower than I would have expected.
No, that's about what I was anticipating. So if you really average it out, something, or you add the two together, something like, what is it? 71% of women who get an abortion get one or less.
Is that what that stat is saying? Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, so 71% of women who get an abortion have one or less.
But what was the 57 and the other one?
57 has never had one before.
Oh. Okay. I totally misheard you.
Yeah. And the key stat here is that only 8% of all women who get an abortion have had 3 or more abortions.
Yeah, very, very low number.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I understand why you were confused. Let me fact check myself really quick here. 2 or less.
Oh, okay,
so like they're getting their second one, that extra 24%.
There we go. See, that's more.
That's why you were confused.
Yeah.
So yeah, like repeat abortions is pretty rare, honestly. Like the right wants to paint women who get abortions as like these whores who are just getting 5, 10, 12 abortions, an abortion every other week. But in all reality, that's less than 8% of all women who are getting abortions that have had more than 3 or more ever in their lives.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because there's two conflicting stereotypes on the right. I mean, there's the stereotype about women who, they're just fucking anything that moves and they're getting abortions all the time. And then there's the stereotype of women that they have where women are just pumping out children for welfare benefits, right?
Oh my God, it's such a duality of man, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't have both.
You can't have both. Especially, oh my God. Oh, well, let's come back to your welfare comment because I really want to talk about that one pretty in depth. I actually had an issue at work today where that conversation came up, And the person was just like a totally ignorant bigot on the topic. It was insane to me.
Oh boy.
But anyway, I want to continue. The focus of this discussion is the lens that the right has succeeded in putting on abortion is whores have abortions. They're all having a whole bajillion abortions. Every other week they're getting one. Dirty whores. That's what the right is telling us about abortion. And since they speak louder than most of the left does, they tend to get the primary voice when it comes to media. They become the talking point. What I want to do here is I want to give you guys about 10 minutes at the minimum here, where you are going to get to hear why it is a good thing that men are around, why men are good for relationships, why men are good when it comes to being fathers, why they are important when it comes to creating a family structure, and I'm also going to tell you why that lens being pointed at these whore women that the right are trying to make you think exist when it actually represents less than 8% of the entire pool of women who are getting abortions. I want to change the lens. I want to change the conversation topic here. Abortion is good for men. And the reason that abortion is good for men is because it gives them and their spouse the ability to control when they want to have a child. It gives you the freedom to execute decisions financially and personally and medically with you and your spouse to control your family. As a group of people who are conservative, I find it extraordinarily strange that they advocate for city rights and states' rights before federal rights, yet for some reason, they don't believe in the right of people to moderate their own homes when it comes to making decisions about their medical care or their family planning. I find it extraordinarily strange that these conservatives are obsessed with talking about these women who are running around and just getting abortions every 2 weeks, when as a matter of fact, it represents less than 8% of all of the women who get abortions. I find it very strange that they are constantly trying to skew the conversation into being just about women instead of really boosting up the viewpoints of men in their conversations about abortion. I am going to assert right now that the conservative right has done everything it possibly can within its power to make abortion exclusively a women's rights issue because they don't want men like you, listeners, and like me, and like Anthony, to understand why abortion is such an important right for men. Men deserve the right to have this input when it comes to family planning. Men deserve to have control over their households in some effective way where the government does not have oversight into their activities and medical health. I think that the right has done everything that it can to dismantle the role of men inside of the family structure. And I think that by doing this, they have coincidentally weakened the position of men as the head of households in America, as breadwinners in America, and they have bastardized their own sacred portrayal of how American men are supposed to behave.
I do want to clarify some things there. Thank you for. I mean, I agree with the overall spirit of your point. I don't think, and maybe this is not what you're saying. I don't think the man has to be the head of the household in every household.
No, I'm saying that that's the conservative belief is that they should be. And I think that they have ruined it by taking away the choice that men have when it comes to abortion.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify.
They've removed men effectively from the abortion conversation on purpose because they don't want you to have rights.
Yeah, we're calling them hypocrites is what we're doing. We're not saying that we agree
I think it's
with
worse
that
than that.
Yeah,
they're not just hypocrites; they're assholes.
Yes, and also the other thing we keep. I think I get why you're saying it as like shorthand, but it's the super abortion woman is probably even less than 8%, right? Because probably 8%, probably most of them just had a third one, right? Like. Just like
Yeah, they just had a third one. When I'm
Right.
saying that, I'm just using that because that's the statistics that I have available.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
less than 1% of women who have 8 or more, but it's so ridiculously uncommon that they don't even talk about more than 3 in the research.
Exactly. I just wanted to
Like, it's
clarify that
such a
for
small number of women who are getting more than 3 abortions, or sorry, more than 4 abortions in their lifetimes, that it's such a small number of women. It literally does not appear in the research.
yeah, just wanted to clarify that in case there are any stupid people listening to us.
I'm just saying it can't possibly be higher than 8%.
Sure, sure. No, you can continue. You were on a roll there.
I hate it because as a man, okay, I in many ways am a progressive man, but in also many ways I am a conservative man. I like having that masculine, manly persona about me. And you can feel however the fuck you want about that. I don't know. I kind of feel like part of being a masculine man is that I don't really care if you like that I'm going to represent my masculinity this way. But I feel some kind of way about the way that the conservative news media has dismantled the role of men when it comes to abortion. I think it's unfair. It's made it so that I think especially younger men, they don't even consider it as an option because they don't think that they have a say. Like, these young men are out here, they don't even know that they should have these rights. They don't know why it's good for them to have these rights. And it's because they've completely disillusioned the role of men in parenthood. They've removed men from the family unit. And it's all conservatives' fault.
I kind of want to add to
They've
this.
completely changed our perception of how fatherhood is.
Kind of want to add to this, to some advice to young men who want to say in their reproductive future. Just don't date, or especially don't have sex with a pro-life woman. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Well, yeah, if you want to have the option of an abortion, sure, but if you're comfortable with that, then go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Just be aware that you probably will.
Just
not
be aware
able
that that's
to-
part of your choices.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And also, definitely make sure to be with someone who is okay with having a discussion about it and involving you in that situation.
Well, that involves all matters of politics. We
Yeah.
encourage healthy relationships around here where both people are allowed to talk.
Definitely.
But now I want to move into why men are so important to the family unit. Why I've already explained I'm upset at the way that the conservative news media, they hate fathers. They just don't even want to talk about them in their news media coverage. I mean, let's be real here. When was the last time that you heard a 20-minute long segment on Fox News about how important men are when it comes to the abortion conversation? I don't know if it's ever happened because they want you to be left out of the conversation. But I'm not going to leave men out of the conversation here. It's important for me. I'm probably going to be planning a family within the next few years and having my first child, and I couldn't be happier about it. And let me explain to you exactly why men are so beneficial when it comes to having and starting a family. So, first of all, I'm going to explain for the ladies out there why involved dads are beneficial for moms to have around. So mothers, as I'm sure any mother would ever tell you who has had the father around, mothers reap a host of benefits when the father is involved during pregnancy and when it comes to raising the children. So dads are more likely to receive moms are more likely to receive prenatal care when the father is involved because he's willing to help pay for it, and he's normally going to encourage her to seek out prenatal care. The woman is less likely to smoke during her pregnancy if an involved dad is around. She is more likely to have a healthy birth. She is less likely to experience postpartum stress because the father can help take some of the load off of the raising of the child when it's first born and brought home. There is a lower risk of postpartum depression for women when an involved dad is around. There is lower levels of stress overall for women in testing when dads are involved. Women have more leisure time because they can split it with the dad. And overall, and no surprise here, Women have higher marital satisfaction when they have a father who is involved in their child's life. Anything you want to add here?
It's just so fucking obvious. I mean, what you're basically saying is just boiling down. It boils down to it's better when people work together and not alone. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's not even controversial.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also think that they're trying to keep it family friendly and appropriate in why this is good for moms. I think that there are some obvious benefits for stress relieving activities that come from having a father around.
Definitely true. Definitely true.
So I think they're trying to keep it family friendly here.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I'm going to move on to are the effects that it has on children. Why are men so great to have? Why are fathers so good to have around your children? Well, children with involved fathers have a strong foundation for child well-being. They're at lower risk for an entire slew of poor childhood outcomes. These outcomes include infant mortality, low birth weight, emotional and behavioral problems, neglect and abuse, injury, obesity, poor school performance, teen pregnancy, incarceration as juveniles, alcohol and substance abuse, criminal activity, and suicide. I don't know about you, but I don't want my child to experience any of those things. Do you, Anthony?
Absolutely not.
Wow, that's absolutely insane. Crazy how important men are when it comes to raising children. And another thing that I want to talk about is the supposed fatherlessness crisis in America. So, this one is more of an attack on men than it is a positive for men, but you got to take the blows, you know what I'm saying? You got to take the good with the bad. So I see very often I'm not going to lie to you, this is like portrayals on TikTok and Twitter. I see young women, they complain about how horrible all men are. And I understand it's a girly moment. It's not for me. I'm not supposed to have stumbled upon that piece of my For You page. I understand it's not for me. You are complaining to the other girls, and that's why I never leave comments on those videos. However, this is my platform, goddammit, and I'm going to talk as much as I please. So, fathers are very rarely absent from their child's life. Of just the people, or of just the children who do not live with their father, they are being raised by a single mother in a father-absent home. 1 in 4 children are living in a father-absent home. However, and Anthony, I was talking with you about this last night, I want to follow up this by saying that's 25% of children don't have a father living in the home. This does not count the children who are being co-parented and shared custody between the two parents. This is only the case where there's a completely fatherless home. There is, it's less than 25% is what I'm saying. Because this counts when it's co-parented. You understand what I'm saying?
So you're saying that if you're co-parented, it's still counted in that 25%?
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, so if you share custody, you're still being counted in this if the child lives primarily with the mother.
Sure.
So it's actually much lower than 25% of the time that the father is completely not involved in the child's life. So pat on the back, men. Good job. Not that many men are actually abandoning their children completely, at least. They might be abandoning the woman who had the child, but they are not necessarily abandoning the child. Good job, men.
Could I say something here? I do think that...
Yeah, go ahead, jump in.
Maybe it doesn't rise to the level of, the word crisis, and maybe it is less than 25%. But in the worst case scenario, let's say it is 25% completely fatherless, I would argue that's still way too high, and for stakes such as raising a child, those are pretty high stakes. I think the risk-benefit analysis isn't that good there. I
totally agree with you. No, that's not the problem here. What I'm talking about is that men shouldn't get such a bad rep because it's less than 25% of men that are not involved at all with their child.
Sure.
And let's be real here, there are pretty severe social ramifications of this. Like, do you agree with me that a man who completely abandons a woman and child is an absolute irredeemable scumbag?
Oh, of course he is. Yeah.
Okay. I think that a vast majority, probably about 75% of men, agree with us.
Yeah, I think 75% of men, maybe even more. Because,
Yeah.
maybe even the people
Yeah.
who do that know that they're doing something wrong?
Yeah. And I just want to take another second here before we get deeper into this father absence conversation. I want to talk about another way in which men get a pat on the back here. Um, when a father is living in a home with a mother and child, there is, or sorry, when a father is absent from the home and it's a single mother raising a child, there is a greater risk of poverty. That's a no fucking brainer. The child is more likely to have behavioral problems. There is a greater risk of infant mortality. They are more likely to go to prison at any time in their life. They are more likely to commit crime. Those two might be related. More likely to become pregnant as a teen, more likely to face abuse and neglect from partners, more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, more likely to suffer obesity, and more likely to drop out of school. And these men, I hope you have listened to everything that I've just said here from these multiple different pieces of infographics that I am communicating to you. I hope that you understand how important you are when it comes to the family unit in the United States. Men have a huge and positive impact on families. And that is exactly why abortion is also a men's rights issue. I rest my case.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not saying that, we want everybody to have a kid, or we want every, we're not saying that at all. In fact, we're saying the opposite. We're saying that, like, hey, look, if you're not ready to have a kid, with the person you're with, you probably shouldn't, right? Maybe it makes sense to consider abortion as an option, because if you don't have a kid with the right person, I'm talking to women here, if you don't have a kid with the right man, and he is one of these, maybe less than 25% of men who does this, it's going to be really, really bad for the child and for yourself. And
Yeah.
men need to know that they are a vital part of raising a successful, healthy child, and they need to be involved in these family planning conversations.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of something you just said there. You were saying how women need to choose met partners better, essentially, right?
I'm not saying they're not doing that. I'm just saying that,
No, I
just something
got
to
you.
consider.
Just loosely, that's what you're suggesting. You're suggesting that they should pick better partners.
I think they probably are in most cases picking. I mean, the fact that the 75% of
No,
men
I know.
are
I'm
fine.
not
Yeah.
blaming anybody here. I'm just asking if that's what you said because I'm going to piggyback into something.
Yeah, I'm just saying women should pick good partners. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. So, in an effort to help with that, the National Fatherhood Initiative actually has this one goes out to you ladies out there, a great set of info and data about this. So, I am now going to tell young women factors that predict father involvement when it comes to having children
Oh
with them.
shit! Helpful.
I know, right? Having a good parenting or co-parenting relationship, so like their own parents, they have a good relationship with their own parents, or if they already have children and they're like divorce situation, they do well at co-parenting with the other parent. Stable relationships with their partners or other parent. So, like, if you have a stable relationship with them, it's not a on again, off again type situation like all these situationships that I hear so much about nowadays. if that happens or they take breaks in the relationship, chances are they are not going to be an involved father. Next, partner slash other parent supports his involvement. I'm going to stop saying other parent here. I think that's supposed to be a gender identity thing. I'm just going to say parent. But yeah, partner supports his involvement in the child's life. If he tells you, yeah, I want to be a dad, it's a pretty good indicator that he's going to be involved as a father. His friends and other family members support him being a father. So if his dad is like, oh my God, I'm so excited, I'm going to be a granddad, it's a pretty good indicator that he's going to stay involved with that child's life. His employer supports his involvement. If the employer offers some kind of paternity leave, it's more likely that he's going to stay and be an involved father, which is very interesting but kind of obvious at the same time.
Also a good argument for paternity leave.
Well, I mean, we can have that argument another day. I have already made my decision on that one. If he reports that he is satisfied with his marriage, if he is in or finished a fatherhood or parenting program, like a formal learning program, if he is involved in his partner's pregnancy, like if he's a guy who shows up to the ultrasounds, he's probably going to be a pretty involved dad. He's going to be there for that kid. If he lives with children, like if he has other children already and he continues to live with them, at least in like a co-parenting situation. If he considers being a dad vital to his identity, he is more likely to be an involved father. Like if he tells you that fatherhood is really important, he's more likely to be involved as a father. Who'd have guessed? He is confident in his abilities to be a father. Children look like him. I don't know what they're intending by this.
You don't have much control over that thing. So
I mean, I think it means like if you give birth to the child and it looks like him.
Yeah, I think there's probably some psychological thing happening there.
Yeah, I'm sure, but you don't have control over that. Yeah. Sorry, ladies. Well, I mean, I guess if you're cheating on the guy, you had control over it. You know what I mean? Like if it's actually his kid, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a history of depression, if he does not engage in substance abuse, if he has never had a count of domestic violence, or if the partner doesn't restrict access to his children.
Wow. Okay. Some of these are just pretty obvious. Yeah.
You know, you say that they're obvious. I really do feel like a lot of these younger people who are just entering the dating zone, they do not think about this stuff.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying that. Look, if you told this to somebody, most of them would be like, "Oh yeah, of course." But I think it's just not front of mind.
But they need to think about it. I need to hold it in front of their face and say, "Look."
Yeah, I mean, and again, as a caveat, you know, this is only if you want to have a kid, right? You can totally have a partner and just want to have a kid. But you know what? Some of these factors are good of any healthy relationship. Even if you don't want to have a child, it's probably good to have some of these things, you know?
Yeah, you think that there might be a relationship between being satisfied with your marriage as a involved father and just having a satisfying marriage?
Yeah, I would say so. Who would have thunk?
Holy shit. But yeah, I know that this episode has mostly been me yapping about how cool men are. But I do think it's important. Like I said earlier, I think that the conservative news media has done everything it can to remove men from the abortion conversation. But I'm here to tell you, young men, you have a choice too. Pro-choice benefits you. Fathers are important. You matter. Men matter.
I want to
and that's all I have to say about that.
I have one last thing I want to say, and then we can move on to different topic. But notice what we're not saying. You know, we probably have some red pillars in the audience. I mean, this is TikTok, right?
Well,
Well,
this is everywhere.
This is everywhere. You might see this clip on TikTok.
But you'll get clips on TikTok.
But we probably have some red pillars in the audience who think that, you know, the key to a successful marriage or family is to have like a dominant dad and a trad wife.
I don't like that at all.
And you know, all this kind of, you know, I hate to use the word toxic because it's such a, like, people's brains turn off when they hear it. But you know, notice that that's not in any of these research. It's not borne out in this research. At no point did we hear if he is the leader of the household or she is a stay-at-home mom, you know, it's more likely to be involved. You know, we just, that's just not there.
So I do actually have some opinions here.
Sure.
I do. So my opinion has always been that single income households just perform better. However, I will add the caveat. I don't care who the income earner is. If the man is staying at home with the kids are going to turn out better. If the woman is staying at home with the kids are going to turn out better. Yeah, having that one-on-one attention really is a big deal.
Oh yeah, all else equal, that's probably true. But I also want, I mean, there's going to be a certain point where a single income becomes so small where, you know, it will have damaging effects to the kid. So that's
I know. I'm saying that, assuming that the single income is, I'm saying let's transport back to when wages still followed the rate of inflation growth, and then we could have single income households again.
Sure. But yeah, notice that we're not doing the red pillars don't really have a huge point here. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, no, fuck that shit. If you need to scream and yell and stomp your feet in order to be a man, you aren't a man. Yeah, you are a child.
That's a fucking insect, a weakling.
Yeah, you're a coward, is what I would describe that as. Man, I'm trying to find this right now. So, anyway, I just to reel back, because I promised we would come back to this. At work today, I have a manager and I have an employee. And the employee recently gave birth to a child, okay? And they were talking about, they were like asking, hey, are you guys aware of any programs that are available for single women who have like babies and children and stuff so that I can help pay for this thing? And one of her coworkers said, oh, she had a child like 2 years ago. She's like, here, you can enroll in welfare actually because you're a single mother and the father is out of the picture. And they'll give you like a certain amount of money per month. They gave me $316 a month for 2 kids.
Oh, that's not enough.
And dude, hold on. The manager, Boomer AF, jumped in and said, I can't believe they'll just give that much of my tax money to somebody just because they had kids.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. We have a conversation happening with them tomorrow. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, no, don't worry. That's not gonna be okay. But yeah, and like, so I brought up the brackets really quick. Okay. It's $205 a month for a single child. $316 a month for 2 children, $403 a month for a family of 3, okay? And Pennsylvania, actually, specifically where this happened, also has a limit on it on savings of $250 for an individual or $1,000 for more than one person, which means you can't have more than $1,000 in savings, checkings, or investments in order to qualify for the program at all.
Wow.
So you have to be literally destitute to get $300 a month.
That's not.
And
even
I'm
that
just
much.
like, I'm just standing there, and I'm like, I hope you get more money.
Yeah.
I was like, I think having children is really good and beneficial for society, and it grows our economy, and I want you to have as many children as you can, and if it results in me having to pay extra taxes, then that's a benefit to society I'm willing to pay for.
When we had the child tax credit during COVID, child poverty got cut in half. It got cut in half, and then
honestly, I think you're underestimating it.
Well, these are the stats that I heard. Maybe there's
I know. I'm just saying, I think that a lot of kids, like, the way that they define child poverty, I think is not good.
That might be true. But
I think that there's actually a lot more children in poverty than they're reporting.
That might be true, but my point is that if you care about children not growing up in poverty, you care about, supporting families.
They don't.
Making sure families are good. Well, they say they do. Maybe they
No,
don't
the right
actually.
does not care. Bro, go listen to one day of Fox News. You'll learn extremely quickly that the conservative mass media groups do not want families. They don't want it.
I just want to put these people in the shoes of one of these families, right? Imagine, this child tax credit thing gets expanded, and all of a sudden you're not really like you can afford things. You can afford whatever car seat you needed, or you can afford
No, you can't.
enough food for your child.
You still can't afford it.
Well, I mean, I'm
I want to pull a stat really quick.
Okay, go ahead. I just wanted
I know
to
I'm
paint an
interrupting you
example
here.
about the child
But-
tax credit and how horrible it would feel to have that ripped from you when it
Yeah,
expired.
well, conservatives don't care about building families. They care about keeping families stuck at the absolute bottom possible.
Yeah.
Conservatives don't want to build people up or give them the tools that enable them to grow. Conservatives want you to stay poor so that they can feel as though they are superior to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what conservatives want. But anyway, I want to talk about this child tax credit. So our grand poobah, Kamala Harris, who is running for election in a month here, you'll get the vote. So keep an eye on that. I don't know if you've heard about her. She has said that she supports a $6,000 a year credit for childcare services. That's nowhere near enough. I have heard people call her a radical for this. That's not good enough. It's not enough. We are currently living in a society in the United States where the average child for daycare costs $16,000 per year. It's like 16,700 something per year on average. Okay? So you're telling me that $6,000 is going to be a huge difference for most of these families that are trying to raise children? No, it isn't. It's barely a dent in the fucking bucket for them.
I do want to say, I mean, if you do the math, divide it by 12, that is more than the $300 per month that you're
Well, no fucking kidding.
So that it is an improvement, but obviously it's not like everything. Just want to just say that.
Brother, listen. And brothers in the audience here, listen to me. What they should do. So hold on, let me rewind here. Again, I want to talk about how Republicans in the United States, I'm not even going to say conservatives, Republicans in the United States don't want you to have children. If they wanted you to have children, they would incentivize you to have children. And to incentivize you to have children, they would provide you with child care benefits. They would provide you with health care for children. Why is it the case in the United States that children under the age of 18 don't have free health care? Surely we can all sit here at the round table and we can all agree that a fucking 5-year-old deserves to have their health care taken care of in the wealthiest country in the history of the fucking planet. You cannot tell me that you don't support free health care for people under 18. You can't tell me.
I mean, they
want to tell you that they support like families and having more people have children. It's fake. Well, they're fooling you.
If you're poor, you do get free health care, right? You get Medicaid as a child.
That's not
right?
free.
It's pretty.
No. Nope. For the most part, you actually have to qualify in order to get Medicaid, first of all, which means that your parents have to qualify for Medicaid.
Yeah, I mean, what I said is that
and
if
then
you're
second
poor,
of all, what'd you say?
I started off by saying if you're poor, you get Medicaid, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, the problem here is that this kind of stuff affects the middle class. Like, poor people have Medicaid, and that's really not good enough. It just isn't. But the healthcare really comes into question when we start talking about middle class families who are kind of riding the edge. Like that extra $200 a month to put their 2 kids and wife on their health insurance plan might literally be the difference between them being to eat a full meal every night.
Yeah. It's really sucks if you're
that's
on edge.
complete bullshit.
Yeah.
If you were to just give under 18 children healthcare for free, you accomplish two goals. One, you're morally superior. I'm sorry, but if you honestly come to me and tell me that you don't think that the U.S. government should foot the bill for every 5-year-old in the country when they go to the doctor, I'm going to look at you like you belong in prison. That is heinous behavior.
Yeah, and
you are an animal.
I mean,
if you feel that way.
Even looking at it from like an economic perspective, on average, it can't
It's cheaper.
It can't be that expensive because it's not like most children have the same healthcare bills as like the elderly, for example, right? So, it can't even be that expensive.
But it's just, I don't understand how you can say, we support people starting families. We're the family party. No, you're not. You don't even support children having health care. Those health care expenses that we could cover for those under 18 children could be the difference between their parents being able to feed them that night. It could be the difference between them being able to buy them the proper utensils to go to school the next day and really sit down and learn. There's study after study after study that show that that coming from a middle class family that is financially stable just directly impacts your scores when you're in school. You do better in school when you aren't hungry, when you aren't poor, when you aren't worried about if the lights are going to be on when you go home from school, if you aren't worried about dying because you can't afford health care. It just makes sense. How can you say that you support families and that you're the party of strong American families? We want people having babies when you aren't willing to support them in even the smallest of ways.
Two things.
Like, we don't even have to talk about just this. We could talk about the child care. The $6,000. I have heard so many people from the right saying that that's socialism. That's bad. That's going to fuck everything up. No, it's not, you fucking lunatic. It's not even half of the average cost of daycare. You're out of your mind. This needs to be increased to $15,000.
Yeah, so I think
this child tax credit per year should be $15,000 to somewhat offset the costs of having a child.
So I think we're almost coming on to the end here, but I did want to I wanted to say a few things. So first,
I'm just big mad about this.
I know. I immediately remembered Tim Walz and his proposal in Minnesota to free school lunches for kids, right? And how Republicans called that socialist. How can you be against like feeding a child? Like how?
Because they're monsters.
Yeah, you have to be monstrous to be against that.
You are an animal if you don't support free school lunches.
This is the whole point of society is to like take care of each other, right? But whatever.
Oh my God, bro! I'm not saying we have to give them steak dinners every day,
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, we can provide them with green beans, potatoes, some mystery meat. We can provide them with real food without cost to them. Yeah. We can do that. That can be done. And you know what? God damn it. If my taxes have to go up in order to make sure that kids can eat fucking food and go to the goddamn doctor, then I'm going to pay more in taxes. And I hate paying taxes.
Well said, brother.
But it's the right thing to do. You have to be a moron in order to think that this isn't the right thing to do. You have to be the most morally devoid individual who is completely incapable of integrating themselves to the needs of society, and you have to completely lack all empathy in the manner of a sociopath to think that this isn't the moral thing to do.
Well said. The other thing I wanted to say, just to rain on your parade just a little bit, to be fair to the king of the dinguses, or I guess he's more like the viceroy of the dinguses. J.D. Vance does support some of these policies. Like, I actually think
that's fine.
The Kamala Harris thing, the $6,000 may or may not have been a J.D. Vance idea.
That doesn't change the fact that a vast majority of Republicans don't support these programs.
Right. But I did just want to call out the one exception.
That's fine. No, there's definitely exceptions to the rule. I'm clearly speaking with a broad brush here.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, and I want to take the conversation away from Republicans, anybody, if you don't support health care for people under the age of 18 at no cost to them, if you don't support feeding people in schools with free school lunches, if you don't support giving them the educational textbooks and other materials that they need in order to get an education in the public school system, if you do not support helping people pay for child care services, I don't want to hear that you are morally superior. I don't want to ever hear you feel as though you have some kind of moral ground to stand on ever again for the rest of your life. I do not want to hear that you support families and you think it's a good idea for people to have families, because you clearly don't. You are anti-family if you are in any of these categories that I just mentioned. And I do not want to hear that you think that we should either raise or lower taxes on any individual. You no longer get an opinion about taxes. You are immoral. You are a scumbag.
All right. Well, I think it's time to sign off, Tom.
I am never done, Anthony. My crusade will continue even off air. But I just want to calm everybody down. I feel like I might have sounded a little bit more off the deep end in this episode than normal, but I want to clarify. I am just extremely passionate about families. Like, I want people to have a family. It's good for the economy. It's good for mental health. It's good for literally everyone, socially, financially, emotionally. It's just objectively good to have families, have children. And I want to equip people with the tools required to have children. That's all that I want to do. And if you are against that, I will hop in the ring with you.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I also want to say, if you don't want to have a child, you should support other people who want to have a child, right? You should still be in favor of these
obviously.
policies, because it's better for society. Even if you don't want one yourself, you should hope that the people who do want one and have one are as best equipped as they can be.
Yeah, and in the next episode, I know we slammed the right a lot in this episode. In the next episode, because we're running out of time, I'm coming after the left.
Oh boy.
I have a couple of bones that I gotta pick here. I'm quite upset about some things, mostly because people don't understand how the field of psychology functions, and I'm here to tell them that they're insane.
Oh man, I have some things to say about that too.
But yeah, don't worry, liberals. You'll get your time to get yelled at. All right, I think we're good. Remember to follow, subscribe, like, share it with every single friend you know, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Coconut Tree Podcast.
See you later, losers.